So you're thinking of moving to Atlanta and you've been considering a few metro Atlanta cities, and a couple of those cities have caught your attention. Marietta and Alpharetta are certainly great choices when trying to find a new home here in Georgia. But many people want to know which one of those two is right for them. They have tons of similarities like location, demographics, and proximity to Atlanta, but they definitely have lots of differences. For example, Marietta is in Cobb County and Alpharetta is in Fulton County. That might not seem like a big deal until you consider things like property taxes and the public service departments that work in those counties. Also, we can't fail to mention home values. There's no question that you can get more home for your money in Marietta than you can in Alpharetta. But exactly how much do homes cost in these cities? Well, buckle up, because we're going to talk specifically about the differences between Marietta and Alpharetta. Let's go. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Victor. I'm a local real estate agent here in Georgia, and I put out weekly videos all about what it's like to live in Atlanta, Georgia, and the surrounding cities. If you're thinking about moving to Atlanta or just want to know what it's like to live here, feel free to call, text me, email me anytime. I'm more than happy to help. I'm so thankful for everyone who has reached out to me asking me about living in Atlanta, Georgia. My favorite thing to do in the world is help people get acquainted with my hometown. With that being said, today we're going to talk about the differences between Marietta and Alpharetta. Let's go. Without a doubt, Marietta and Alpharetta are two of the best cities in all of Metro Atlanta. If you're thinking about moving to one of these two cities, you really can't go wrong with either one. Marietta is on the northwest side of Metro Atlanta. From Atlanta, you would take Interstate 75 north to get to the city of Marietta. Much of the city of Marietta surrounds Interstate 75, which means that many of the homes and many of the areas there in Marietta have very easy access to the interstate. And then Alpharetta is kind of on the northeast side of Metro Atlanta. To get to Alpharetta from Atlanta, you would take Interstate 7585 and then transition onto Georgia Highway 400 going north, which would take you right into the city of Alpharetta. Like Marietta, many of the homes in Alpharetta surround this Georgia Highway 400 and the exits and on-ramps of Georgia 400, which makes it easy to access all of Metro Atlanta from the city of Alpharetta. Both Marietta and Alpharetta have like a downtown area that is good for shopping and finding restaurants. Many people love to come to these areas. They're super popular. Marietta has downtown Marietta or Marietta Square with Glover Park in the middle and the fountain, super popular area. And then Alpharetta has the downtown Alpharetta area, which I've shown here many times, the big green lawn, bunch of the restaurants and shops. Also City Hall is there in downtown Alpharetta. So these two areas, Marietta Square and downtown Alpharetta, are very similar and one of the best parts about the two cities. Another similarity between Marietta and Alpharetta is that they're both suburban areas just outside of Atlanta. So they're not inner city, the homes are not super close to each other. Many of the homes in both of these cities have about a quarter of an acre to maybe 2 or 3 acres of land for a home. You know, the neighbors are not right on top of each other, the houses are not super close to each other. It's a suburban kind of lifestyle with lots of neighborhoods and subdivisions, HOAs, and then, you know, nearby to these neighborhoods and these HOAs are the shopping centers with the grocery stores or the different retail areas that you might need. This is a very typical kind of suburban lifestyle in both Marietta and in Alpharetta. While both of these cities are very suburban, the city of Marietta is a much older city than Alpharetta. Marietta has history going back as far as the Civil War. Alpharetta is a bit newer than Marietta. So what this means is that the age of the homes in Marietta are older than the age of the homes in Alpharetta. Now, that's not to say that all of the houses in Marietta are as old as the Civil War. More so, like, the homes in Marietta were commonly built in the 70s and 80s. The homes in Alpharetta were commonly built like in the 90s and early 2000s. Both cities have some new construction going on, but Alpharetta certainly has more new construction than Marietta. One very clear difference when driving through these two cities is that Alpharetta seems to be better kept than Marietta. Again, maybe because Marietta is an older city, there's a lot more trees there, a lot more vegetation. Many of the neighborhoods have pine trees all over the neighborhood and very close to homes, whereas in Alpharetta, there doesn't seem to be as many trees. The landscaping all around the city is much better, and so there's a very clear difference in the way that these two cities look, or the general appearance of these two cities, just when driving through the city. Property taxes in Alpharetta are naturally going to be a little bit higher than in Marietta. Cobb County taxes seem to be a little lower than Fulton County, about 1% of the value of the home, and then Fulton County is about 1.07% of the value of the home. So property taxes can be a little bit higher in Alpharetta than in Marietta. Another big difference between these two cities is that Marietta is a much larger city than Alpharetta. Alpharetta is kind of a small town, very desirable, a lot of people live there, super popular, but Marietta has much more area than Alpharetta. This is pretty significant because in Alpharetta, you pretty much are getting a very similar city all around the city. The school districts are very similar, the public services are all very similar in Alpharetta, but in Marietta, because of the size of the city, not all of the areas are the same in Marietta. Not all of the school districts are of equal quality in Marietta, or the public services. Also, home values range a lot more in Marietta than in Alpharetta. The average home value in Marietta is about $500,000, with a range of about $300,000 up to about $1 million, whereas in Alpharetta, the average home value is closer to $600,000. I'd say really the low end of that range is close to $450,000, with the top end of that range being about $1 or $2 million. And so if we look at a $600,000 house in Alpharetta versus a $600,000 house in Marietta, you'll instantly notice that Marietta will offer more home for your money than Alpharetta. One thing that you'll notice between these two areas is that Alpharetta has the more recently built homes with smaller lot sizes, whereas Marietta, with their homes that were built 20, 30, 40 years ago, have larger lot sizes. So it's very common to find not only more home for your money in Marietta, but also more land in Marietta. Let's talk about the school districts for each of these cities. All of the information that I get about the schools comes from an awesome website called greatschools.org. If you're wanting any kind of information about any of the schools or the school districts, you can certainly check out that website. Has a lot of great information. The average school rating in Alpharetta is really a 9 or 10 out of 10, whereas in Marietta, the average school rating is about an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Many people ask me about the school differences between Alpharetta and Marietta, and I'm very cautious to say that the schools in Marietta are not as good as Alpharetta, because it's a very small difference and the school experience can be affected by so many things. An individual teacher or an individual principal or an individual school can really make a big difference in the experience that a student has at any of these schools. Another thing that comes with the size differences in these two cities is the amount of economy and jobs that are offered in each city. In Alpharetta, the smaller city, really there aren't a whole lot of jobs offered there. There are some typical retail and restaurant jobs there, but in Marietta, the much larger city, there is a much larger economy. More hospitals there in Marietta, more industrial space, and so in general, there are certainly more jobs and a bigger economy in Marietta than there is in Alpharetta. There are certainly tons of differences between Marietta and Alpharetta, but if you compare Marietta to Atlanta, there are even more differences. Check out this video where I talk specifically about the differences between Marietta and Atlanta. See you in the next video.